You made a plan back in January. You had the energy, you had the vision, and you had the spreadsheet. If you've been following along with us this summer, you may have just finished the grading the expenses worksheet, looking at every line item, asking, does this belong here in my business today? Now it's time to take everything you've learned and do something powerful with it. Because here's what I know to be true. Your business in July looks different than it did in January. Maybe your revenue is ahead of where you thought it would be. Maybe you've had to pivot. Maybe you've added new team members, lost team members, raised your prices, or shifted your offers completely. Want to be clear, it does not mean you failed. It means that you're running a real business. You're a real CEO. Today, we're talking about one of the most powerful tools I carried with me from my corporate CFO career into Kickstart and Envision CFO. And it's one that I think every CEO needs in their toolkit. It's called Reforecasting, and it's about to change how you lead the back half of this year. Welcome back to CEO Numbers Network, the podcast for business owners who are ready to fully step into their CEO role, lead with financial clarity, and build a profitable, sustainable business that they love. I'm your host, Danielle Hayden. I'm a reformed corporate CFO and founder of Kickstart Accounting Group. And I believe with everything I have that financial strategy shouldn't be reserved for the boardroom. It belongs to you, a small business owner. At Kickstart, we've spent the last 10 years, and we're committed to the next 10, helping entrepreneurs understand their numbers without stress or shame. So whether you're working with our bookkeeping team, our Premier Analysis tier, or Envision CFO team on full forward-looking strategy, this episode is for you. Last week, we walked through the expense grading framework, how to look at every dollar you're spending and evaluate it against your actual business goals. You don't have to have every subscription in your business. If you have not listened to that episode yet, would you take a pause, go back and listen to it, because it's going to make this one even more powerful and meaningful. And today, we're taking that information and using it to do what great CFOs do every single year. We are reforecasting. So let's make sure that we start on the same page here. Reforecasting, it's not starting over. It's not admitting defeat, and it's not creating a brand new 12-month budget from scratch. Reforecasting is the process of updating your financial plan based on the information you have right now, not the information you had last November when you were planning for January. In my corporate days, we did this every single year without fail. You create a budget in the fall. You launch into January with the best information you have available then. And because life is real, things shift. The economy would move, a key team member would leave, a new opportunity would open up that nobody saw coming. And rather than white knuckling it through the back half of the year, hoping that the original plan would hold, we would stop, look at the data, and actually update the plan so that you go into the back half of the year empowered and confident, using real data, real information. This is leadership. This is what great CEOs do. And this is exactly what I want you to do in your business this summer. So here's how I want you to think about this. In the boardroom, when results didn't match the plan, we didn't hide from it. We didn't pretend like January's budget was still accurate if the business had fundamentally completely shifted. We held ourselves to what I call the boardroom accountability standard. 3 questions in order. What happened? Why did it happen? And what are you, the CEO, going to do about it? Your mid-year reforecast is the answer to all 3. What happened? That's your year-to-date actuals. The real revenue that occurred, the real expenses that cost your business money, the real owner's draws, everything that actually occurred January through June. And why did it happen? That's where your quarterly reviews, your expense grading worksheet, and your honest CEO reflection come in. What offers changed? What team members shifted? What markets moved? What season of your personal life impacted your capacity as a business owner? And then what are you going to do about it? That is the reforecast. That is you as the CEO and CFO of your business, taking everything you know right now and making an updated and informed plan for the back half of the year. Now, I recommend doing a reforecast every summer. Mid-year is this natural inflection point that you get to restart. Every year, we do a mid-year check-in point with all of our bookkeeping clients. This is where we look at what's happened in the business and have we reflected. I recommend a formal reforecast every summer. Mid-year is just this natural inflection point, and you have 6 months of data, like you have what actually happened this year, and you still have time to course correct and strategically shift your energy and your dollars so that you can close the back half of the year with intention. Now, there are other times throughout the year that might trigger an immediate reforecast. And this is the work that we do at Envision CFO. Our CFO team is looking at the real events that are happening in your business and reforecasting as needed as these events happen throughout your year. Some examples that might be happening in your business that would trigger you to reforecast. Your revenue is running significantly higher or lower than your original budget. I mean, this is the biggest one. If you are not hitting your budget numbers, please stop basing your spend on the budget. You cannot continue to spend money according to a budget that's not actually happening. So you cannot continue to run expenses through your business if you are not hitting your budgeted dollars in revenue. Now, if your revenue is running significantly higher than your target, it's also time to reforecast. Your spending is going to look different. Stop comparing your actual spending to something that's not real. A major hire is a time to reforecast immediately so that you are building a budget and a business that is aligned. If you're preparing for a big investment, a new software, a new offer, a location, any large investment, we want to reforecast before you make the decision. If your personal life has changed in a way that affects your business, like your capacity, your energy, or your vision for the future of the business, that is a time to look at your original budget and reforecast so that your numbers are aligned with where you want your business to go this year. And if at any time you feel a major shift or pivot, it does not mean we throw out the original budget and we stop using our numbers. It means that we reforecast so that we can keep the data front and center to make every business decision for the back half of the year. So anytime you feel out of alignment, either personally or professionally, or there's a major decision coming, this is when you pull out the reforecasting tool to give you clarity. And I promise you, this is going to give you more clarity, empowerment, and confidence than any other tool I know. Before we get into the how, I have to say this because I say it every time and I mean it. None of this works without clean books. If your bookkeeping is not up to date, you cannot reforecast. Full stop. Hear me right now. If you are doing your own bookkeeping and your books are not up to date or accurate, do not do this exercise because you cannot build a budget off of data that is wrong. Your budget will be wrong because your data is wrong. Every strategy, every decision, every forecast starts with accurate and complete financial statements. I'm going to put some links in the show notes. If you're not sure if your books are clean or accurate, you can download our Check Your Books worksheet, check it yourself. You can sign up for our Check Your Books service where we can check your books for you. If your books are behind, hit pause on the episode. Go download the worksheet, go sign up for our services. Do not reforecast until you have this cleaned up. If you are already a Kickstart client and your books are current, you are ahead. Here's how to do this. Step 1 is to look backwards. We're going to pull your year-to-date financials, your profit and loss statement from January through June. This is your actual data, real revenue, real expenses, the real balance sheet. I do not want you to skip this step. You cannot project forward until you understand what actually happened. And as you review, I want you to think back to the expense grading worksheet. How did your spending hold up? Are there categories that came in higher than expected, maybe lower than expected? And are these expenses that you graded a C or a D still sitting on your P&L? This is your reality check. Let's bring these two exercises together and look at that expense grading worksheet and see how it ties into your P&L and how it's affecting your net income. How does that affect your profit? If you are not hitting the 15% profitability goal, then it is time to pause, look at why, and make those decisions. All right, step 2, we're going to ask 2 questions. What needs to shift and what needs to stay? This is where the reforecast becomes strategic. Maybe your revenue is tracking ahead of the plan, in which case you need to plan for the team, the tools, the infrastructure to support that growth, and still protect your margins. When your revenue is higher than planned, it is your responsibility as the CEO to think through, do I have the right infrastructure? Do I have the right systems and tools that are going to support my growth? I can't tell you how many clients who have come to us throughout the years who are planning for 50% revenue growth. And when we say, okay, who's going to service these clients? What can your systems handle a 50% growth? I'm like, oh, didn't even think about that. We have to plan for all of the team, tools, and infrastructure to support the growth. Now, maybe your revenue is below your budget or below what you thought it would be. This is where we have the opportunity to tighten expenses, revisit our offer strategy, or adjust the sales forecast so that you can still hit a profitable year end. Just because you're below budget does not mean you need to cut all of your expenses. Let's look strategically at what revenue is coming in, what expenses you need in order to operate your business, and what tools and systems and team members you need in order to hit your growth. Step 3 is to update the budget. I want you to take the original budget you built at the beginning of the year. Open up. We're gonna replace the budget numbers for the months you've already lived with your actual data. So the first 6 months are all your actual data now. Then for the back half of the year, we're gonna adjust the projections based on everything we know now. The new hires, planned or unplanned, salary changes for you and your team, the offer changes that you made, the sales that you're running, the software, tools, and technology updates that you're making in order to be able to service your revenue for the back half of the year. The goal is a reforecast that reflects your business as it actually exists today, not the business you imagined last November or the one that you're hoping for next year. Now, I want to tell you about 2 clients because I think that these stories really matter. The first client came to us mid-year after one of her team members had to step away for a family emergency. She had been on track for a strong year, but the team shift changed her capacity. Honestly, it changed the way that she delivered her services and her expenses. She was really stressed and she felt like she was completely off course. When our CFO team sat down with her to build the reforecast, we didn't just look at her revenue. We didn't just look at her operating expenses. We adjusted her offers to reflect her new capacity. We reduced expenses that no longer made sense without that team member. And she was still able to hit her year-end profitability goal. Just because she had the shift doesn't mean that she wasn't able to hit her goals. We just had to change how she was going to get there. And with less stress and more clarity than she had had in months, she had the path forward that she could lead. I often talk about that as a CEO, we are the chief energy officer of our business, and she needed to show up to lead the rest of her team and the rest of her clients and business energetically with power, commitment, and confidence. And knowing that she was able to do this pivot and still hit her year-end profitability goal, she was able to achieve that clarity and empowerment. Now, our second client had the opposite challenge. She had projected to hit about $1 million in revenue for the full year. By summer, she had already hit this number. And it was so exciting to send her a congratulations at the top of each one of her financial statements. We love celebrating with our clients. Like nothing makes us more excited than to celebrate with our clients. However, she was completely overwhelmed. She didn't have a plan for what came next. She didn't know how to build the infrastructure to serve this type of growth. So our CFO team took a step back, made this reforecast with her new revenue trajectory. We built out the plan for her next 2 hires. We planned the software investments she needed in order to manage her growth. And we watched her literally roll her shoulders back and down, moving from anxious to owning her success, leading through it, and matching the excitement that we felt for her. These are 2 very different situations. It's the same tool, the Reforecast. It's the same result, a CEO who could show up with clarity and confidence instead of anxiety. So whether you're nailing your budget and going over and have had incredible growth this year, or you're feeling like you're falling behind, this tool, this moment right here, this piece, it matters. Now, I also want to share with you, I reforecast my business every single year. Every year, the forecast looks different than the budget. And not once have I ever felt like I failed. I am running a real business here. And this is the real world. And in the real world, it changes. The Boardroom accountability standard I mentioned earlier isn't about shame. It's about ownership. The best leaders that I've worked with in my career, they aren't white knuckling it. They're not trying to stick to the original plan. They are moving and pivoting with the reality. They pick up new information, they update the strategy, and they move forward with confidence. And that's what I'm going to do in my business, and that's what I want to invite you to do right now. So here's your action for this week. Pull your year-to-date P&L. Review it through the lens of your expense grading. What did you learn? Then open your original budget and ask 2 questions. What needs to shift and what needs to stay? If you need support, I know this is a lot. That is why we do what we do here at Envision CFO. It is one of my favorite things that we get the opportunity to do with our clients. If you want support setting your goals, creating a budget, and reforecasting regularly, go to envisioncfo.org. You have the information. You have the tools. Now you, as the CEO, go lead. I'll see you next time on CEO Numbers Network.